Hello everyone, welcome to upGrad.com's Python tutorial for beginners. This course provides a detailed understanding of Python and its various concepts using industrial use cases and easy to understand approaches. Well, this video is a third part of this Python tutorial series. If you're a beginner, so it is recommended to check out our previous videos. You are also welcome to join our industry-oriented programs on this course. For more details, please click on the link in the description below. You're also welcome to join our groups on Facebook or LinkedIn if you have any questions, doubts, or if you're looking for some program updates. So my name is Rajan Chetri. I am the instructor for this Python crash course and I'll be taking you through the Python tutorial. So let us discuss the agenda first of all. So today's session is dedicated for simplifying the code and enhancing the code readability. For achieving the code readability, we have to learn some of the important concepts of Python, such as list and dictionary comprehension. Then we'll be talking about some of the handy and some quite useful functions which are used in data processing mainly, such as map, filter, and reduce. We'll be talking about lambda expressions as well, which is one of the methods of simplifying the code or the functions. Then finally, we'll be talking about the closures and decorators of Python. So let us start, first of all, with list comprehension. Python is famous for allowing you to write code that's elegant, easy to write, and almost as easy to read as plain English. One of the language's most distinctive feature is the list comprehension, which you can use to create powerful functionality within a single line of code. List comprehension basically allows you to write your code in a simplified manner. So, in general, whenever we solve a problem, we write some functions or we use some loops in an expanded form. But what if we can reduce that form in one line? And that's where comes list comprehension. Now, list comprehension basically allows you to create another list in just one line. It makes the code more readable and more understandable. So at the bottom, here is an example of a list comprehension here. Now, this list comprehension has got several components in it. So let us discuss few of the components here one by one. So here is a range function. We already know that the range function is a generator. It generates a number. So range function will generate numbers from 1 to 10, that is n minus 1, or limit minus 1. So this range is going to generate numbers from 1 to 10. All the numbers will be assigned to this variable which is called x. So here a loop is going to run internally, which is a for loop here, and this x will be updated every time with a new value. So the possible values of x are from 1 to 10. For every value of x, it will calculate its square. So here there is a condition that only those x will be calculated if the remainder, which is the modulo operator, right? If the remainder of that x comes to 1. So that means here we are calculating the square of only those numbers who are odd in nature. So let us repeat it one more time here. So this range is basically a function which will generate the numbers. We can call it as input sequence. All the numbers will be assigned to the x one by one. And here, this is the returning expression that it is going to return the square of the x or the values within the x. But there is a condition here which is also called the predicate, which means that only those x will be calculated if the remainder of the x after the division by 2 is 1, which means the odd number. So this LST is an object here. It is a user-defined object. It will contain a new list, right, where there will be the squares of odd numbers. So as per the previous demonstration or the previous example, we saw an output expression, which was x raised to power 2. We saw an input sequence. It was the range function. We saw a variable representing a member of the input sequence, which was x, and an optional predicate part, and that was the condition. So here at the bottom, you can see a syntax of writing the list comprehension. When we use list comprehension, there are some points that we need to keep in mind when using the list comprehension. The very first objective of using the list comprehension is to make your code more readable. Many a times, list comprehension is faster than normal functions. Make sure that you do not write long or lengthy comprehensions using a list. The objective is to make the code more user-friendly. And finally, every list comprehension can be rewritten in the for loop, but every for loop can't be rewritten in the form of a list. It means that if there is a complex programming and it has to be done using a for loop in the expanded form, not in a one line. So in that case, we must not try to reduce the expanded form in the form of a list comprehension. That is the single line expression. We must try to avoid that. Let us try to do a small demonstration on understanding how list comprehension works and how to compute the values or how to generate a new list using a list comprehension. Let us understand list comprehension by looking at a simple demo first of all. So here we'll create a list here and we'll try to calculate the square of the given list in a normal form. And then we will try to convert that expanded form into a list comprehension. So here you can see that I have got a list here and I'm going to calculate the square of this numbers in the given list. Alright, you can see here that I have got the list, I've got the numbers, right, square, right. So here I've got the squares here. So I can do the similar operation using the list comprehension in a more readable format. So for creating a list comprehension first of all, let us understand that we have to start with the square bracket here. Then we have to specify what is the input sequence, means from where the input will be recovered or received. This is my list for x in my list. So this is a general looping expression that we are already using here. You can see. So the meaning is same, that all the numbers from my list will be assigned to x one by one. Now here, this place is for the return. What do you want to return out of this? So I want to return the square of the number. So I've specified x into x, so which is the square. Now that is the return statement, and we will store the output here in this new object called square list. So let me show you the response of square list here, which is the similar output 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25. So here we can see a very easy example of constructing a list comprehension. We can also add a condition or a predicate part here, which is optional. So if x mod 2 equals to 0, which is for the even numbers. So if we execute it one more time, so you can see here, I'm able to calculate the square of only even numbers. Let us do another demonstration to understand list comprehension. So in this example, we'll convert miles values into the kilometers form. So here I've got a list here, miles traveled, and here I've got some miles traveled values such as, let's say, 35, 76, 89, 1110, and let's say 92. Suppose we have this data with us and it is in the miles unit, and we want to convert this miles unit into the kilometers form. So let us do the same operation using the list comprehension. We'll follow the same expression for m in miles underscore traveled. We'll call it mile. The return statement would be mile into 1.609, which is the kilometers value for a mile. So let us display a new list here, which is kilometers traveled. So here you can see in this example how easily I can convert the miles traveled into the kilometers form, which is easy to understand in kilometers. Similar to list comprehension, dictionary comprehension is one more elegant and concise way to create dictionaries. So here we can create a dictionary using a dictionary comprehension from an existing list, let's say, or from any data you have. So suppose you have a scenario, let's say if you want to convert any linear data into a key value form based on a values provided in the example. So here at the bottom, you can see an expression or the syntax of how the dictionary comprehension works. So here is an example here. So at the bottom, you can see that here, using the range function, I'm generating a number between 1 and 10. All the numbers will be assigned to the num variable one by one. So the possible values of num would be from 1 till 10. Now here, look at this expression which is responsible for generating the key value pair. Please observe the comma here. On the left side we have num and on the right side we have num into num. What does that mean? Let's take an example here. So the very first value of num would be 1. So this is going to be 1 colon 1 into 1. So the key value pair would be 1 and 1. Let us understand by the second iteration of this loop here. Let's say this time the value of num is 2. So it is going to be 2 colon 2 into 2, which is 4. So the new key value which is generated is 2 colon 4. Similarly, for every iteration, it is going to generate the values like 3 colon 9, 4 colon 16, and so on. Let us look at some of the advantages and some of the warnings when we use dictionary comprehension. So this will make us clear when to use dictionary comprehension and when not to use. So dictionary comprehension is useful when you want to shorten the process of dictionary initialization. Now what does that mean? It means that instead of creating the dictionary from the scratch, what you can do is you can simply use dictionary comprehension for creating a new dictionary instantly. It makes the code more Pythonic as well, means it is the Python style of coding or the Python approach of programming. Now, similar to list comprehension, your dictionary comprehension can also shorten the lines of code, keeping the logic intact. So it means that you can reduce the number of lines of code similar to list comprehension in here using dictionary comprehension. This makes your code more readable and easy to understand. Now there are some warnings as well when if you go for dictionary comprehension, make sure that dictionary comprehension actually uses more memory and more CPU cycles when you compute any data using dictionary. So use of dictionary comprehension for huge data sets is not suggested. Many a times, due to complex programming, dictionary comprehension can the, decrease the readability of the code. But it will only happen if there is a increased programming logic or the complex programming logic added. So as a result, or as an understanding, we must not try to fit a difficult logic in a dictionary comprehension, similar to list comprehension. So if your code or if your problem statement requires you to write the code in the expanded form, like using a loop and a function in multiple lines, do not go for the dictionary comprehension. Let us understand dictionary comprehension by following some programming demonstrations, and we will try to understand how dictionary comprehension works, what is the exact syntax, and how the data is computed using dictionary comprehension. So let us go to our lab. Let us try to understand how dictionary comprehension works in Python. For that, here I'm going to create a list, and for that list, for each number, we will be calculating the square once again for the easier understanding. So once again, I have a list here with the following values, and what I'm going to do is for this list, I'm going to use dictionary comprehension and I'm going to generate the squares. So here, because it is a dictionary comprehension, it is going to generate the key and values. So the key would be the number and the value would be the square. Similarly, and so on. So you can see here that the expected output is supposed to be look like this. For dictionary comprehension, first of all, the very first observation is the use of curly brackets or the flower brackets. All right. So for num in my underscore list. So you can see here, this expression is pretty easy to understand that all the numbers from this my list would be assigned to the num variable one by one. So the possible values of num would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now the next is the return statement. What do you want to return here? So here, I'm supposed to deliver or produce a key value pair. So here, the key would be the number, which is 1, 2, and so on, and the value would be the square of that number. So whatever the result is, we'll be storing that result in this object. So let us print this object and let us say the key value pair. All right. Let us try one more demonstration and let us see how dictionary comprehension can help us in getting more insights from the existing data. So in the second demonstration, I'm going to create a list here, and that list will be containing some words. So let us create a list here, words. Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and let's say Infosys. All right. So here I've got a list here of some companies here. What we'll be doing here, basically, I want to get the word as well as the length of that particular word as the output. So the expected key value pair is supposed to be the word and the length of that word. So let us solve this challenge using the dictionary comprehension, everyone. So once again, I'm going to follow the same expression, that is curly brackets, for W in words. Here I'm extracting all the words within the variable called W one by one. So here, this is the returns expression. So what do you want to do with this W? So here I want to generate a key value pair. The word will be the key and the length of the word will be the value. For calculating the length of the word, I'm using a function, a built-in function called len. Alright. So here I'm storing the objects, right, or the key value pairs in a new object called word dictionary. I have executed. Remember, for executing the cells, I'm using Shift plus Enter as the short key, right? Okay. So let us print this dictionary here. So you can see that it can be pretty handy to use dictionary comprehension for getting some insights, some meaningful insights or valuable insights from your data. So in this example, we are able to calculate the word and its length. All right. So let us start with understanding map, reduce, and filter function. Now, before we start with map, reduce, and filter, so I would like to tell you some more details about why exactly these functions are used. So Python provides several functions which enable a functional approach, right? So functional approach is a new is a new approach which basically focuses on expressions. These functions are all convenient features in Python that can be written easily in Python. So function programming is all about expressions. We may say that the function programming is an expression-oriented programming. Now, in order to do expression-oriented programming, we have these three functions with us, which is map, reduce, and filter. All these functions works on data or are supposed to compute some data which are provided to them. So let us understand these map, filter, and reduce functions by looking at the example here. So first of all, let us look at the map function. So here, map function has got some list here and some items here. And there is a function here which will be applied on each item of this list. So what map function does basically, it basically applies a programming logic in the form of a function on, on its each item of this given data. So map function generates a new list here, you can see. So for example, let's say if we cook, let's say, each item of this data will get a new item. So here we have got this potato. If we cook it, we'll get French fries. If we cook, let's say, corn, we'll get some popcorns here. And similarly with this object. So here, what exactly map is doing? Map is used to compute each item of your data or of your list, right? And apply a common function on each item. Thereby, it results in generating a new data or new result set. Now let us look at the filter function. Now filter function is not used to compute the values here. Filter function is basically used to extract the subset from the given data. So here, suppose we are provided with this data, we will use a condition based on which we will extract a subset from the data. I'm repeating myself, we are not computing data, we are extracting the subset. So suppose there is a condition called, let's say, is vegetarian. So if you look at the output here, we have got the potato as well as the corn. You can see that this is not the newly computed data, it is the original data, but it is filtered. So it is a subset. So filter is used to extract a subset from a data based on a given condition. A filter will always work with the conditions. Now let us talk about the reduce function. Now reduce function is used to aggregate the data and compute a scalar result. Now what does that mean? That means that if you do a combined computation on this data, then it will produce an individual or a single output. For example, let's say if we apply a function called eat on all of this data, this will not generate a new list, it will not extract a subset, but it will generate a scalar output. So let's say here is a healthy man, or you can replace this healthy man with energy. So if you compute all the data, if you aggregate all the data, and if you apply this function on it, then it will produce energy. So here, reduce is not used to extract a subset or produce a new list or a new set. It is used to produce a scalar output. A very one good example can be extracting the sum of numbers between 1 and 5. So if you add all the numbers, you'll end up with a sum. So that sum is a scalar output, which is done using the reduce function. Let us look at a programming demonstration to understand map, reduce, and filter function in detail. Let us start and let us try to understand how map, filter, and reduce function works. So we'll be understanding the working of map, reduce, and filter by looking at the following demonstrations, and let us try to understand the logic and the concept here. All right. So the very first function that we are going through is the map function. As I explained you earlier, map function is used to map each value of your data set against a business logic or a function. So let us try to understand map function using an example here. In this example, we will be calculating the squares of each number from a given list. So here, I have an input list with me with some values here. So you can see here that I've created a list with the values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now the objective of this question is to calculate the square of each list here. So how are we going to calculate the square of each number? For that, we'll be writing the business logic first of all. So let us look at the business logic that will help us in calculating the square of each number. For writing the business logic, we will declare a function here. Alright, so here you can see the business logic for calculating the square in the form of a function which is called getSquare. Alright, now here what we'll do basically, we will map each value of the input list against this business logic. Now for doing that, we'll take the help from the map function, and map function takes two arguments here. So the very second argument here is the data set on which you want to compute a business logic or you want to implement a business logic. So here it is input list. So what does it mean? It means that map function will automatically will be extracting the values of this given list one by one. Now what to do with the values extracted from this list? Now here in the first argument, we need to pass the business logic which will help compute each value extracted from the input list. Now it is the job of the map function to extract the value one by one from the input list, and for each value call this method. Now every value extracted from this list will be passed to the n parameter here, and this will be done by the map function automatically. For each value which is passed over here, a square will be returned. So let us try to execute the following code. Here you can see that when I executed the code and stored the output in the result object, it is printing us a map object and its memory address. This is an object representation of a map which is an iterable. Now we need to convert this object representation into human readable form. For doing that, I'll be converting this map object into a list form. So here you can see that with this, I'm able to calculate the square of each number here. Let us try one more example and let us try to understand the functionality of the map function. So here in example 2, we'll have a list of names and we'll try to convert these names into uppercase. Susan, Mary, Julia, N. Alright. So the objective of this example is to convert the list items into uppercase. So how are we going to do that? Once again, we have to write the business logic for it. So def to upper name return name dot upper. So here is the business logic for changing the case of the each item from the given list. Now we will be mapping each item from the list against this business logic. For that, I'll be taking help from map function once again. The second argument is the names, and the very first argument is the business logic. This time we will directly convert the output into the list form and will print list. So you can see here in this example how we use map function for computing each value against a business logic. I hope it is clear to all of you. Let us proceed further with our second function from Python, and that is the filter function. Now, as I explained you earlier, filter function is used to extract the subset from the given function. So from the original set of values, we will extract few of the values based on the provided or the given condition. Let us try to understand the filter function using an example here. So here I have a filter function, and this filter function has got some numbers starting from 1 till 9. The objective of this example is to extract only the even numbers. So once again I'm repeating, the objective of this program is to extract the even numbers. Alright. So similar to the map function, we will write the business logic for the filter function. Def get even and return and okay if n mod 2 0 return true. All right. So here I have simplified it. So here is the business logic for finding the even numbers. So if we pass any number to this function get even, it will check whether the number is even or not by using the following logic. And we'll try to divide the number by 2, and if the remainder returned is 0, then it will return true. Now remember, for the filter function, we need to return true or false. So this filter function will be used against the given data, numbers, and the business logic, which is get even. Let us try to understand how filter function works. The filter function is similar to the map function. The second argument is the data set or the data against which the business logic will be executed. And on the very first argument is the business logic here, and that is get even. Once again, it works similar to the map function. Filter function will extract the numbers, each item from the numbers list one by one. It will be calling the function for each number retrieved from this given list one by one. For every function call, if the condition is true, only that particular number will be returned. Otherwise, the number won't be returned. So here, let us convert it into the list form for human readability, and let us try to print the result. So you can see here that in this example, I'm able to extract the even numbers from the given list. Once again, for each number for which the condition was true, only those numbers will be returned. So here you can see that the filter function is not producing a new data. It is not producing a new result set. It, it is extracting the subset from the original data. Let us try to understand the filter function using one more example here. So let us say I have a values like this, and from this values I want to extract only the integers. So here I have a list with me, and from this list the objective is to extract the integers only. So how we'll do that? For this we'll write the business logic, get numbers, return is instance. Okay. So here, for extracting the numbers from the given list, I'm using a function called isInstance. IsInstance is a function which will check whether the given number is an object of the integer class. So it will return true if the number is an object of the integer class. Otherwise, it will return false. Let us try this business logic against the given list. Alright, so here it is giving me an error. Looks like there is a case mistake. So let us correct it. Alright. So here you can see that it is returning me true and false as well. Now the reason why it is returning true and false because of its internal representation of 0 and 1. To correct this situation, we'll add one more condition here to avoid the Boolean values. So here you can see that I have added one more condition checking the instance must not be of bool. So here we are able to extract the pure numbers here using the filter function. I hope you have understood the functioning of filter function. Now let us try to understand how reduce function works. For understanding reduce functions, we'll take example once again. So as I explained earlier, reduce function is used to aggregate the values. For understanding how reduce function works, let's take an example here. Once again, here I have a list with the values from 1 to 5. The objective of this program is to calculate the sum of the given numbers. So here, we'll aggregate the values and we'll find the sum. In order to use the reduce function, you have to import the reduce. So reduce function is not directly available to us. It is imported from a module called functools. So here we'll define the business logic for calculating the sum of the given list. So def get sum x comma y, return x plus y. Print x is. This is for understanding that how these parameters are working. Let us try to use the reduce function against the given business logic. So finally you can see here that the result is 15. Now here we're able to get the sum of the given numbers. but how it is working. In order to understand it correctly, let us look at this values here. So here, x was initialized to 1 and y was initialized to 2. Then you can see here, x is updated to the sum. So whatever we are returning is updated to the x. Then y is 3 and x becomes 3 plus 3, which is 6. Then y is 4 and x becomes 6 plus 4, which is 10. Then y is 5 and x becomes 10 plus 5, 15. So here, y is representing each value from the given number or the list, whereas the x plus y is representing the sum, which is x. So I hope you have understood how reduce function works. Let us proceed further with some more exciting topics. Here, we'll try to understand lambda functions in Python. Now, what exactly is a lambda function? Lambda functions are also called the anonymous functions. Lambda functions are provided to us to simplify the function writing. In case if the business logic requires the function to be short and simple, so instead of declaring the functions in a traditional way, we can simplify the function writing using the lambda functions. Many a times lambda functions are also used for utility kind of functions, such as a given formula or a mathematical formula. Let us try to understand how lambda expression works in Python by looking at the demonstration. Understanding lambda expressions. In order to understand the lambda expression, let us look at the example here. So here, this is the business logic for getting the next number of any given number. It looks good. Let us try this example here. You can see that it is returning the next number. Now the same expression can be solved using lambda expressions. So let us try to understand how to write the same business logic using lambda expression. So lambda x plus 1. So this is how the lambda expression looks like. For better understanding of this lambda expression, we need to compare this x with the parameter here. So this x is the parameter and this is the return expression. So we need to understand these positional purposes here of these values. So this is a parameter and this is a return expression. Now this expression is represented by an object called, let's say, gn, which is a short form for get next. Let me show you how this works. So this 7 will be assigned to x and it will return 7 plus 1. You can see here it is 8. So this is a very simplified version of functions here. Let us try some more expressions here, such as adding two numbers.
To know more, follow and subscribe to upGrad.